Hi, this is Cindy Hodnett, your host for Las Vegas Market Behind the Scenes. Today we have a very special broadcast for you recorded at Las Vegas Market. We hope you enjoy it.
Are we on?
Welcome to Las Vegas.
Well, thank you very much.
And thank you for accepting the Icon Award. And maybe just start with...
I almost didn't accept it because the idea of being an icon made me suddenly feel really old. So I ran to my dermatologist and I thought about it and then went, why not?
So, what crosses your mind when someone says, you're an icon, you've had an iconic career?
I've had a lucky career. I've been extremely lucky. I feel so, and it's a crazy word that people overuse, but I feel so blessed because I wake up every morning and I get to do something that I love. I get to be creative. And even though, a day can have its dramas, like this morning I found out a sofa wouldn't fit through somebody's front door. We've just to cut the feet off of it. 29 years later, you think I would have learnt that lesson by now. But it's an extraordinary thing to do that and to have the ability to do that and to have other people allow you to do that. And so for me to now be called an icon is the ultimate reward, because it's not just about loving what I do and being thrilled to do that. It's now that other people love it and are honoring me. So I can't believe it, and I'm so lucky.
How'd your career evolve? I mean, where did it all start?
Well, a lot of people know my story now, but I started out as sort of a precocious 12-year-old. I convinced my dad to let me use my allowance money to run around flea markets, and there was a crazy thing in England called car boot sales. And I would buy these things, and eventually I'd sort of stockpiled a whole bunch of these treasures. I would lay out all of my kind of ill-gotten gains, a teapot and a couple of silver spoons and whatever it was I'd found in the trunk of these people's cars, and all the unsuspecting American tourists would show up. And I'd spin them the most fantastical story about that teacup that the Queen had just used, and I'd end up making a profit. and so, without me really knowing that, doing that for all those years as a teenager gave me the knowledge and the background to understand my career today. It kind of learned me what a hallmark was, where something came from. How do you put, these two things together? Blue and yellow looks good together and it attracts the eye. Things like that. I learned them literally hands-on by making money on this market stall. And it was funny because the real goal of it was my father had been an opera singer. He'd been an entertainer. And I always wanted to follow his footsteps and go into sort of some theatrical field. And he was highly against it, didn't want me to do that. So I took my ill-gotten gains from these market ventures, and by the time I was 17, I put myself through drama school. So I did a summer season at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts, and then I went to the Lee Strasberg in London. And all the while, I kept then doing more and more of this buying and selling, and by that point, I'd got really good at it. So much so that the head buyer for Ralph Lauren had hired me to run around all the vintage markets in London when I was 17 to buy props for their windows. So I'd buy old leather trunks and hat boxes and, just all those mad things you used to see in those stores. And with all of that money, I put myself through drama school. I kind of, had this fantastic time living in London, and it was super fun, with the ultimate goal of moving to Hollywood and becoming a movie star.
How'd that go?
Well, I moved to Hollywood. And I could make a damn good cappuccino because I ended up as a waiter for about 10 minutes. Actually, that's a whole other story, because the first day I started to work I totally lied and told these people I was 22 21 actually, I think, told these people I'd worked in some trendy cafe in London. I'd never done anything like it in my life. And I started to, they were like, oh, you know, so literally they hired me and I started working there and I was supposed to make a cappuccino. And so I stuck the cup under the frother thing and I started to flirt with somebody, totally forgotten I blew the machine up. That was the end of my career as a coffee maker. But so I flailed around Hollywood for a while and was in a few different things. I did some stuff on a show called Melrose Place. And eventually I got cast in a movie where I played Eartha Kitt's boy toy. And the movie was called I Woke Up Early the Day I Died. And it was the last script, a movie that Ed Wood ever did. And probably for good reason. And literally, I did that movie and I became friendly with the then producer. And he came with his fiance, I think it was at the time, to this tiny little house that I had in West Hollywood. Kind of had no money, and I furnished the whole thing at like the Rose Bowl, which is some kind of flea market that we have in Pasadena. And literally, the day that, he came for dinner, and he said, we love this so much, would you come and decorate our offices? And I thought to myself, this is crazy. I don't know what I'm doing, but yes. Because I bet if I go decorate their offices, he's going to put me in another movie. So I go and decorate the offices. I mean, again, didn't know what the hell I was doing. But I did this sort of like weird, it was like Casablanca goes to the Rose Bowl flea market. All on a very strict budget. And so I bought all these old Indian doors and hung them on the wall, and I bought beaten up club chairs and old fans and put loads of palms in everywhere. And it actually looked kind of great. Anyway, the day it was finished, it took me about a month to do it. The day it was finished, I had a phone call from a lady called Liz Heller. And she said, oh, I love what you've done at the Hollywood Film Works. Would you come and look at my offices? And so I was like, I'm getting another design job? This is really crazy. And she said, it's at the Capitol building. So me being this 23-year-old Brit thought, oh my God, it's the White House. I'm being asked to design the White House. Well, it turned out the Capitol building was actually the famous Capitol Records building. And Liz Heller turned out to be the executive president of Capitol Records. And so I got there and I thought to myself, blimey, I always wanted to be a pop star, so maybe I'll decorate her office and she'll give me a recording contract. Well, cut to, I ended up starting to work in her office, and a month into it, she was getting married. And literally the day before the wedding, I got a phone call from her going, you will not believe this is insane. My wedding planner just OD'd. In great Hollywood style. So I was like, oh my God, I will come help you. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll come help you. So obviously now I'm a wedding planner. So I go to Liz's house, and I've gone downtown in the morning. I bought 3 dustbin bags full of rose petals and about 15 yards of tulle and a staple gun. I have no idea what I'm doing. I get there because she was getting married in her garden. And I get there and they tell me that I've got to decorate the chuppah. I was like, well, what the hell's a chuppah? I had never been to a Jewish wedding. I had no idea what it was. So, oh my God, you should have seen the chuppah. It looked like something that Scarlett O'Hara had made out of an old pair of drapes. However, Liz was thrilled, loved it, and by the end of the wedding, she asked me to stay to the wedding, and she sat me next to a lady called Cheryl Teagues, who I had no idea who she was. I thought she might have been a Charlie's Angel. But it turned out she was America's first ever supermodel and an icon. And by the end of the wedding, she hired me to do her house, which was a Balinese pavilion in the hills of Bel Air. Neither of us had been to Bali at that point. And within 9 months, I was on the cover of 6 magazines, and my design career was born. And I'm still trying to be an actor and a singer. You got more than you bargained for with that answer, didn't you?
Well, yeah. Normally the drill in these things, and whether you're, talking to a president or, a politician or famous designers, is you submit questions ahead of time and they look at them and say, yeah, why don't you ask me that one or whatever. So we submitted some questions, and when we met an hour ago or so, he said, I didn't read those questions. Now I know why. Some of your favorite projects. I mean, obviously you've gotten some extraordinary credit around some famous people, and in that context, some had to be a lot of fun and some had to be nightmares. Just your take on maybe a couple of things that you really.
I have to say that I think the most extraordinary project really for me was with Cher, because it wasn't even about the design. It was about the woman herself. It was an incredible thing, and it was an amazing experience. And the first time I met her, she called me to go meet her at her house in Malibu, which is that sort of incredible. If anybody's ever been to Malibu, you can't miss it because it sits on a promontory and it's got all of these palm trees, and it's kind of a cross between a Venetian palazzo and an Italian palace, basically, or Spanish Moroccan palace, I guess. And so I get there and I'm ushered up the biggest staircase you've ever seen in your life. I mean, it was enormous. It was really like a scene out of an MGM movie. And I get to the top of the stairs and it's quite dim. At that point, she was in her heavy Gothic stage. So everything was deep red drapery and lots of bullion fringe and everything. And her assistant goes, well, Cher will see you in here, and ushers me through this enormous dark studded door. And I go in, it was kind of like, I thought, oh my God, this is so creepy. And so I go in, and it ends up, I'm in Cher's bedroom. And she always, in all of her homes, has these enormous bedrooms with big seating areas and everything. So I'm sort of standing there looking around, and I suddenly hear, hey. And suddenly one of those big red heavy draped curtains is whipped back. And there she is in a black skin-tight leather bodysuit with a sleeveless fur gilet to the ground and one diamond earring that touched her shoulder that was a big feather. And she sort of threw her hair back and she went to me, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know anyone was coming today. And that's how we started. So from then on, I wore the skin-tight leather jumpsuits. But it was an amazing experience because this woman has been on the stage and in the public eye since she was 17. She's really used to being on stage, and so even her homes had to be very theatrical. And so for me it was amazing because of course I'd had all this drama training and I managed to kind of get it out in the design for her house. So we did crazy things like, for instance, I did a penthouse apartment for her in Hollywood because she wanted when she was doing her Vegas residency, she wanted a Hollywood pied-à-terre, so it was easier to get from that to the plane to get here. And so we took out 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms to create a 1-floor master bedroom suite. And so we did this sort of wonderful seating area and everything, and her bed was up on a big platform where you pressed a button and a TV kind of came out from the bottom of the bed and rose. And everything was designed in an Indian flavor because she said to me, I want to feel like the first wife of an Indian Maharaja. Not the second, mind you, the first. So we went to India and bought the facade of a palace in Jaipur that they were tearing down. And I brought the entire facade back and we disassembled it and we rebuilt all the interior of her apartment around this, which was amazing, including archways that used to be the entry archway portals into the palace. And those we kind of put as the backdrop to her bed. And then I mirrored all the doorways which you touched, and they entered you into her dressing room and her wig room and her makeup room. Because who doesn't need a wig room? And then we had a special thing where we had a bathtub in the middle of this room, and you would press a button, and from the ceiling would drop hand-embroidered with gold thread, sheer drapery. That so if Cher was entertaining, she could drop these drapery and you would just get the outline of her naked body whilst she was talking to you. Now that is drama. So it's those kind of things that have made that job so incredibly exciting, and all the other jobs that I've done for her. I actually did her dressing room here in Caesar's Palace. Well, not here, but in Vegas, in Caesar's Palace, which was really fun. Yeah,
Wow.
a lot of leopard.
Wow.
Yeah.
Switching gears, I was intrigued. We started talking about it later, but in one of the videos that I was watching, you had talked in the construct of budgets and design and the things you think about and what are really important. I don't know if you use the term first dollar sort of thinking, and not for Cher, but like maybe for me, but lighting, just in the context of how you think about lighting and design. I know you have a great license with Corvette, but just in the design sensibility.
Lighting is everything. Remember, I live in Hollywood, so we are all about lighting, and I believe that, to be honest, lighting can make or break an interior. You can be in the most spectacular room ever, and if the lights are too bright, the room's ruined. So at the end of the day, a dollar allotment for lighting is very important out of a design budget, because I think it's such a vital, important situation. And obviously, again, the reason why I said that I live in Hollywood is because I now understand a lot about how people are lit. And obviously you never put a light directly above somebody's head because it ages them 10 years immediately. So and there are certain ways that you know how to light people where they look and feel good. And today it was a problem for a little bit because of all of the lighting systems changing over, and suddenly light seemed really bright and stark and bold, and it was sort of scary. And some of those new bulbs to begin with wouldn't dim.
Right.
But in the last year or two, there's lots of great new bulbs and ways to dim them and make it ambiotic again. So it's very important. But it's funny because I have designed for almost all of the Kardashians. Kim being the only one. The only thing I've done for Kim was a bedroom, but for Khloe, Kourtney, Kylie, Kendall, Kris. Try saying that after a few tequilas. All of them use their homes to film in. So I actually had to learn how we put filming lights into an interior where they're hidden, so that when the cameras are rolling, these lights come on and they blast them out so you don't see any lines. Everybody looks beautiful, so it's like really photographic lighting, which is something I'm trying to work out how to get above my head permanently.
You look just fine.
I love the story of back in the day. Actually, my first house in Hollywood used to belong to Gloria Swanson, who was this famous silent movie star, and she used to have a little person. She was quite short herself actually, but she used to have a little person walk in front of her the whole time with a silver reflector board wherever she went. So she'd have this perfect reflecting light up in front of her.
Wow.
Yeah, I left mine in the elevator.
Matt, where's Matt? A couple other memorable things, that you've done that maybe would surprise the group here. As I explained, a lot of these people are in the design trade, and maybe even go a little bit, on the idea of budgets today, because somebody looks at.
I hate those. No one's allowed to use that word with me. No, but I mean, obviously, budget is, but even if when you're working for billionaires, by the way, that's a word I do like, budgets are always, on the table. And today also, I design quite a lot of commercial things. I do hotels and restaurants and stuff now. And that's where budgets really, really matter, because you can't suddenly do a model room and propose this room and say it was $15,000, and then when we start installing it, it's actually $18,000 because you've thrown the budget off of these 220 rooms by $1 million. So it's learning how to work within budgets and work around budgets today is a really difficult maneuver, but it's something that is vital in our industry to understand how to do it. I always say the number one rule when starting out in a design business is to get yourself the best accountant you can afford, because this business is very, very easy to lose track of money. I love, a client of mine told me that, in fact it was Tommy Hilfiger, said that the best advice he ever got from his father was telling him that there are two things in life that are the very easiest things to do. One is put on weight, and the other is spend money. Unfortunately, I'm down for both of those.
Who do you admire? At the end of the day, you're a creative guy, whether it's drama, clothing, putting a neat twist on an antique, a creativity. Who do you admire out there that's, in that context?
I get a lot of inspiration from fashion. I think fashion goes hand in hand with design today. You'll see something on a runway that next minute you're going to see in somebody's home. Prize example right now is Gucci. The creative director of Gucci kind of loves very Victorian-looking things. There are kind of lots of chintz prints and sort of very Victorian, ornate looks. And for a long time there, we'd lost all of that in design. Everybody was going so much more mid-century, and that sort of slightly, old lady on acid look, as I call it, had disappeared. And so now if you go into Gucci, there's a lot of old lady on acid. In fact, I saw a few of those walking around earlier. But that whole vibe of that sort of whole chintz madness is really coming back again very strongly. And it's all directed into the home via fashion. We saw it on the runways first, without a doubt. And I love that, because I think as much as I love mid-century and modern, it's time to have a bit of a revival, have a bit more pizzazz, going on into design, or at least the options that we're given. I think as creative people, obviously, interiors goes in cycles, just the way that fashion does. Again, at the moment, we're having a big 80s comeback. So we're having an 80s comeback in clothing. Almost all of the fashion brands this season are showing oversized jackets and sort of really very 80s looking clothing. And of course, when you walk through market here, even this morning we had a brief look around, there were lots of kind of very 1980s kind of overstuffed looking Michael Taylor sofas, and the serpentine look of things that were Carl Springer's, that was, again, he was huge in the 80s. So we're seeing all of that go really hand in hand again. But it's fun. It's really fun to mix and match that. Again, I'm somebody, though, that I don't believe that you should ever follow a trend. I believe that you should believe in what you believe in and what you love. And if you can put it together in the way that feels right for you, then it's always going to be the right look.
Cool. How are we doing time-wise? We're good? Okay. Are there some questions? Do you guys have something you want to ask Martyn? We got one over here.
How do you decide what client you're going to work with?
The question is, how do you decide what client you're going to work with?
Yeah, I got it. Well, I think the first thing first is to see how much money they've got. That's a really good one. No, I have a process with my clients where I always give them kind of homework. When I first meet with them, I'll give them a list of questions of things like, just to kind of get the idea and the vibe of what they're looking for and to see if we're going to gel. and to see if they really know what direction they want to go into. So I'll ask things like, what's your favorite hotel? Where's your favorite place to stay? What's your favorite restaurant? What do you like most about your home now? What's your dream for your new home? Just, sort of like a little list of questions. And then from the end of that, you quite often get all these almost like jigsaw puzzle pieces that you can put together as a picture to understand a little bit more into the mind of that person. And then also, if that hasn't really worked, I'll send them out to the local newsstand and say, go and buy as many interior design magazines as you can find. Go buy the foreign ones and the American ones and buy, everything, and go through them and start tearing out the pages. And it might just be that you like a doorknob in a room, or it might be you like the chandelier, or it might be you just like the color. But all of that helps put the palette together and the picture together. And when I start looking at that and understanding the client, I'll understand whether we're going to gel and whether I think that the ideas that they have I can turn into a vision that makes their dream home for them. Because at this point, I'm lucky at this point, I don't have to take every job. And so I want to take jobs where they are exciting and where I feel a real connection with the client. And it's not even really, to be honest, it's not really even about the money. I mean, obviously, I have a big office. I have 20 odd people that work for me, so I need to make sure I can cover my overhead. So if somebody comes to me and says, I've got a $200,000 budget, I couldn't do it because it'll end up costing me money. We have to have people that are going to spend $1 million, $2 million just to kind of pay the bills. But sometimes I'll do things for fun. I see what I'm doing now, which is going to be so fun, I can't even take it, is I'm doing the most extraordinary house for RuPaul. Yes. And it's kind of hilarious. We just hired, the big construction team for the house. We just had the contractor come over and brought in his whole team. And I said to him, well, the test for this is, I want to know each one of your drag names. So I've got these big, burly sort of guys that we've in fact, we've called one Burly Shirley, because he's like this big gym guy. But it's hilarious, they kind of like it. But it's going to be amazing. And I'm actually, there was an enormous screening room that was maybe the size of this auditorium in the basement of his house. And we're taking all of that out, all of the rooms out, and we're creating an archive and personal museum with all of his costumes and outfits from everything over the years. So that's going to be pretty extraordinary. Yeah, so that's going to be really fun. I'm loving that one. Yes?
You got one right there.
Any chance you're going to do more of the television shows?
I am in final talks for 2 new shows this year right now. So they're all at contract stage, so yes, probably. Funnily enough, I've been doing quite a lot of TV stuff in Europe over the last few years, and a lot of that stuff's been sold all over the place, but they haven't really come here yet. But there is one called Hollywood Me that I believe is being sold into Netflix. It'll probably come out later this year, but I actually made that a few years ago. But the 2 new shows are going to be really fabulous, so tune in. Yes?
So, nice to meet you.
Look how cute you are.
I'm Faye Christie, nice to meet you. So, not really so much of a, I don't know. I feel we all have learned the secret to a happy life is doing what you love, and we're all so blessed, and I can see that in you, and you really take pride in expressing that, and the gratitude is still there, you're so humble still. What are some practices that you do personally that feels, that helps you feel that way and maintain that gratefulness and abundance?
Tequila Sola de Lime. that helps a lot. No, the most important thing for me, I think, in my life that keeps me inspired and keeps me feeling fresh for work and for jobs is to travel. I love travel, and I try to go at least once every year to somewhere I've never been before. So I just came back from Egypt. I went to Egypt before Christmas. You guys, run. Egypt is the most amazing place. It was the most inspirational trip ever. funny enough, I've tried to go 3 times in my adult life, and every time something's happened that I haven't managed to go. In fact, the first time was about 15 years ago. We booked a trip, and at that time I was friendly with Elizabeth Taylor. We were going to go with Elizabeth Taylor. Can you imagine going to Egypt with Cleopatra?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, she fell and broke her hip, so we didn't get there. But anyway, so we just went, and it was extraordinary. And I rented a boat and took 12 friends, and we went up the Nile, and we stopped at all of these unbelievable temples and sites, and oh my God, it was extraordinary. And then it culminated in, well, in the end of the trip, we flew to Abu Simbel, which is one of the greatest temples I've ever seen. And then we went back to Cairo and did the Great Pyramids of Giza, which, honestly, is incredible. To see something that's 3,000 years old, that nobody knows how they built it. And so you come away from those things just, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to, rebuild a pyramid for somebody, but the ideas, the things that you see somehow inspire you. And you can get just as inspired, honestly, by taking a bus 10 miles up the street, because you can look at a bowl of oranges and suddenly see the sun refract off of them and see a bunch of colors that are so beautiful that you want to put into a fabric design. So it's also about keeping your eyes open and allowing everything to seep in. But again, for me, really, travel is the number one. And kids often come to me and say, we want to go to this college or that college or do this course. And I say to them, well, why don't you, first and foremost, if you can, save up and go travel. Because traveling is amazing. And I'm always amazed by the amount of people, particularly young kids, that haven't gone to Europe. You can fly to Europe now for $150. You got to fly yourself, but you can get, and just for the design knowledge, go to Rome. I mean, every corner you turn in Rome, there's one more beautiful thing than the next. Usually the people, but I mean, it's just that, it's that stuff that to me feeds my soul and keeps me going.
Can you share, what is your best advice for us? You mentioned you have 20 people on your team. What's your best advice on hiring and maintaining a creative team that can sort of execute your vision?
It's my least favorite thing, hiring staff. Honestly, I have wonderful staff. I have people I absolutely love in my office, but finding the right staff is a very hard thing because this is a very personal business. So number one, you have to have people that you feel a connection with. And I think it's almost not even about their qualifications. It's if you feel that you can connect with them and you feel that you're going to understand each other, that's the number one basis for hiring somebody, I believe. Obviously, you want certain qualifications. You don't want to hire somebody that doesn't know how to turn a computer on. But this business is about personalities, and it's about how we connect with our clients. And there are a lot of very talented people out there in the world, but it's really about the connections that you make with your clients. And that's how you get the final end goal. That's how you get a beautiful interior. It's not just about being talented and going to Rome and buying a bunch of beautiful things. It's about the experience that you have with the client to get to the end goal, to create a beautiful interior. And that's the same thing with your staff. So, number one, always make sure you like who you're hiring. Don't just hire somebody because they've got an amazing list of credentials and they worked for your favorite designer beforehand. Hire them because you feel a connection with them. And remember that again, we are a very personal business. I mean, I could tell you what most of my clients have got in their underwear drawers. So saying that means that we know so much about them that you have to also be able to create great confidence with them and be somebody that, or have people that work for you that won't sell a story to a newspaper or embarrass you or embarrass their client, because the clients entrust us with their lives whilst we're doing their houses. And you have to find people that you trust just as equally to work for you that can share that burden. Yeah.
Hi, Martyn. Okay, so I'm also
Where are
a
you?
Los
Oh,
Angeles designer
hello.
right here. Hi. Love you so much. So
Well,
along
thank
this-
you.
Along the same
You can come
lines
again.
Sorry, I was late. I apologize. Along the same lines of hiring, what is your normal timeline of how long an employee stays with you? Because one of the things that I find challenging is I bring someone on, I hire them, I train them, I give them all the tricks in the trade, and then they go somewhere else.
It's really, really hard, that side of it. I have to say, I've got people that have worked for me now. I've got some people that have been in my office for 10 years, which is amazing. And the thing that's so amazing about that is that they really, you can really trust them, and when you're not around, they can help execute things for you that normally you don't even trust to yourself. But yeah, I mean, I've had people that have worked for me for a couple of years, and we've just got to that stage where they've gotten good, and I feel like I can really believe in them, and then they up and go. They like go off to somewhere else.
So is it all about money? Like just
So,
give them more
so I think that money is one of the most important goals for a lot of people. You know, we all need money to live. We all, that's why we work. And so it is about money. I think you have to make sure people are paid really well and are really happy in the environment. And, I do lots of things like, I'll go out and buy everybody lunch and throw parties, and everybody's birthday, we always have a big champagne celebration. You just have to make people feel happy and feel wanted in your environment, I think, and that's the most important thing. You should make people feel the way you'd want to feel if you worked for yourself. And that's the way I look at it. When people come and join me, it's so funny, I'm waiting for somebody right now to respond to a job offer that I just gave them. And when she came into my office, and it's for a very particular position actually, it's within my development side of my company. And when she came in, I said to her, I have to tell you that I love the way you look. I said, your resume is great. I said, but I just really enjoyed that 10-minute conversation we had. And I know that if we've had this easy conversation now, it's going to be a great work conversation. And I'm going to enjoy bringing you into my family. Because the people that work for me are my family. And I know we all fall out with our families, and, we'll have arguments over the last bit of turkey at Christmas, but that's part of being a family. And so I want to make sure that everybody that works for me feels like they're family in a way. And I think that it's the money and that, and giving them that feeling of being wanted and respected and being a family member. Does that make sense?
Final. You're living by choice. You could live anywhere. You chose the West, and in the construct of change and how things have changed. How's the sustainability and the green and the care about people, what's in their furniture? With your clients, are they coming to you and saying, that's important to me, that the foam is constructed so I'm sure there's no carcinogens, just
green is really, really important, because if we don't look to it somehow or the other, we're all going to end up blowing the planet up. I mean, we just know it. We see it every day. We see what's happening in the world. And so, as much as we can bring green into our design, it's a great thing to do. I actually won Best Commercial Green Interior last year for the Hotel Californian that's in Santa Barbara that I designed. Thank you for that. Interestingly enough, though, we didn't really design it with totally being green in mind. Just when all the choices were laid on the table, I looked at lots of things, and there might have been something that was just a little bit better than the green option, but we went with the green option just because it felt like it was more socially the right thing to do. And the interior turned out great, and so we try and bring as much of that into our design as we possibly can. Sometimes it's impossible, Sometimes there's a certain paint color that is the only paint color that will make this room look amazing, and there's no one that makes it in a biodegradable, non-flammable, cancerous, whatever. So Yes, I mean, but if we can do it, we will do it, and we will continue to do it as much as we possibly can. I have in my lines, I have a line of organic mattresses, and so for a company called Custom Comfort, where all of my mattresses are made out of compacted cashmere wrapped in organic cotton. And the reason why they're made out of cashmere, which is basically wool, is because wool is the only thing that if you drop a cigarette on compacted wool, it'll just fizzle and it'll go out. And so the FDA passes it without having to have a highly carcinogenic spray that they put in every mattress. So I'm sure most of you don't know that every night you're sleeping on mattresses that are actually off-gassing and slowly but surely giving you cancer. It's a proven fact. However, in America, because 20 years ago somebody created a house fire by falling asleep with a cigarette and they burned the house down and killed themselves and their kids, tragically, the government changed the laws and enforced that every mattress has to be sprayed with this carcinogenic fire retardant. And so that's one way of creating green in your own home for your own health, is to buy an organic mattress. Hopefully one of mine, which means I'll have more green in my back pocket. But you know, that's the kind of things that are so very important. It's interesting. Last year I had the cover of Architectural Digest with Kylie Jenner, which was it's the biggest interior design story in the history of design. The story got 1.6 billion traceable repeats, which is over 1 billion more than any other design story in history. Nothing to do with my design, it's to do with the fact that she's, you know, a crazy Kardashian and has this massive following. But the most amazing thing with working with a young person who, when I first started working with her, she was 20, is that she actually has a real passion about decorating in a green way, decorating in an eco-friendly way. And so all the paint in her house was eco-friendly. We made sure that the foam and stuff that was filling her sofas was all, you know, didn't have carcinogens and all those kind of things. And that felt really good to know that with a 20-year-old client, that not only was kind of the high glamour and the high visibility of her home important, it was important for her to think about the future and look to doing green in her home. So that's a heartwarming thing to know.
Fantastic. We're going to conclude with giving you an appropriate icon award here.
I do hope it's a very large diamond.
Something like that. And unfortunately, it's not green. But Martyn has agreed to stay, and if you haven't purchased one of these books, they're fabulous and really capture a lot of the incredible body of work that you have. And so we'll be doing that, I think, in the back. And with that, Martyn, I want to thank you for being an icon, being a friend of design.
Thank you so much, everybody.
A friend of the planet.
Thank you for coming, see me. Please come over and say hi, get a book, take a picture. It's lovely to see you all. Thank you. And have fun at market. Thank you, guys.
We hope you enjoyed that. And remember, there's much more coming your way. Follow us on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And don't forget, there's always something exciting happening at Market. Go to our website, check out the future market dates, get your registration in early.